I am really excited that we are going to be able to talk about how, like, where we go in our future. You and I are very similar, but we're also very, very different. We both left the church, but the difference is that when I left, my family went with me. The difference is you left all alone. And that is also one of the biggest reasons why I reach out to you, because I felt as though you were all alone.
Yeah.
And nobody should be alone in their journey, especially when they're trying to find who they are, what they want, what their desires are. And that is why I reached out to you to have dinner with you.
Yeah. And I felt that, and you being just a true friend, you have seen that I've been alone, and that I'm not speaking anything other than, like, I really do just want everybody to be happy. And that's come at a sacrifice of me doing it as a solo. And you have had the mask of a man, of being able to cleave to your husband and choosing each other to go forward. I'm sure there are plenty of humans that are triggered by the ways that you have audaciously given your kids permission to just like break all the rules that you made.
Yes.
There are so many humans that they check their ego every day. They would never, ever in a million years say that they did something wrong, let alone let their kids say, like, hey, remember when we talked shit about bars and beer, but like let's go get some tequila and let's make it nice, because that's what Melissa does. Make it nice.
Babe.
Cheers.
How's it going, Blamers? Welcome to Blame It on Mel, episode 1. We're here with Katie. We first crossed paths about 5 years ago, sitting in church. Katie had just moved here from the Boise area. She decided that she would go up and bear her testimony. And so in our churches, once a month, members can just walk up and you can bear your testimony, do whatever it is that you want to talk about. And she walked up and she was in a full monochromatic, that's right. Is that correct? Monochromatic skirt suit.
Yeah.
Yes.
With my camel vest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. She also had a mohawk, which is
a blonde one.
A blonde one, extremely blonde.
Mohawk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is not what Mormon housewives wear. No, that's not how they style their hair at all. So I knew right away something was very different with Katie. And as soon as she started speaking, I knew that I was going to be friends with her. Do you remember that meeting?
I do. I remember looking back. We had sat on the back row, and it actually wasn't supposed to be our meeting. We walked into the wrong meeting. This was our first Sunday back in Lewiston, and we knew that this congregation met then because that was the congregation that we went to when we lived here in 2013. And so going back and then looking around and being like, oh, this isn't the right one, and seeing you guys just out of my, the corner of my eye, it was just me and the 3 kids. So I went up and was like, hey, kids, you need to sit here while I go up. And as I go up, there's this like blonde bombshell and Ken Barbie sitting with their perfect family on the back row. And I'm just like, oh, hi. I had no clue that was what was going on behind me. That was you.
That was me.
And I just remember looking, and then there was just like this cute little cherub on Brandon's lap, like just seeing, and she was so young. Like she was really, really young. Now she's older, but yeah, that's exactly how we met, was on the back row of sacrament meeting. And it was a fast and testimony meeting. And I had taken the opportunity to stand up and just say, hey, like, we haven't been here since 2013. This is now 2020, but I want to thank everybody that's in this congregation, because the only reason why we came back to the area was because of the roots of these good people. Mm-hmm. Like, we sat here right out of school for a year with our 2 young kids, and they just enveloped us. They were so kind, and the reasons why we were back was because of them. And so,
that was the church people.
Yeah, and being in the wrong church building was such an invitation to me. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to take myself out of even having to have a conversation after this meeting. I'm going to go up, I'm going to thank everybody, I'm going to be kind, I'm going to speak about my, what I believe in, and then I'm going to sit down.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hadn't lived here yet. I hadn't moved here.
Yeah.
We were building a house, and we were just kind of checking things out. So you left before testimony meeting was over, so I didn't get a chance to introduce myself.
Yeah.
So we hadn't crossed paths again for almost 3 more years.
Yeah, we knew of each other. We weren't following each other on socials. It was just like a happenstance of the DeGroots. I knew where you lived. You knew of me, but we weren't hanging out in the same crowd.
Right. No. So you were the orthodontist wife. You guys had moved here because you bought the practice from another Mormon.
Nope, not another Mormon, but
No.
just very, very religious.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you bought somebody, and you bought their practice and their house, right?
Yeah, the whole kit and caboodle. So we moved here. We had really sacrificed a lot of our monetary needs to get to a point where we could just go straight into paying a lot of things off and walk right into what we had here, which was buy the practice and the land, which was the doctor was leaving. And so we just took the opportunity to say, hey, would you be willing to talk to us about your land? And so we bought a practice and property, and then the world shut down in March. Because that was 2020.
Yeah.
So I moved my family in 2019, like December of 2019, and the world shut down in March. And so that was like the big influx of the things that happened between when you met me to 2013. I mean, to 2023, when you re-met me again.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that timeline.
Exactly. So you didn't look like a normal, typical Mormon housewife. How were you received? Did you always style your hair that way? Did you always wear things that were a little bit different than the norm?
Yeah, from a really young age, I had a lot of privilege in the parents that I was given. They have always been really, really great at knowing who I am, like, and reminding me that, like, I really am not supposed to be looking like other people, even though all of my family very, very much so fits into what I would like to say the quote unquote little Mormon family, where there's 5 kids and they all have kids and they all have long blonde hair and they've all had temple marriages and all the stuff that you would see from the outside looking in. I was a tomboy. I was raised on a potato farm and had a lot of access to very strong masculine things at a very young age. So I'm a very dual, like I have a lot of duality in my personality, where I can go in with my strong feminine and I can go in with my strong masculine, and I'm very capable in both of those. I would be wearing coveralls, doing diesel mechanic work, and then go to prom that night and that was so fun for me to be able to play in those worlds. I didn't realize how rare that was until I started running with a different crowd. I got married at 19 and then moved to Iowa for 6 years, which Iowa didn't have a lot of like the Mormon church specifically, because that's where we were, you know, that's kind of the pivot point of what we're talking about is it wasn't big in Iowa. And I looked a lot different than all of the other doctors and dentists and attorneys and all these secondary school wives, because you are put in these church congregation wards with all these people that are going to school.
Right.
And I couldn't have kids for 4 years. So I was the barren woman walking in and having them all just like be so enthralled with my energy. And I love kids. Like I was meant to be a mom. I've always wanted to be a mom, and I fought really hard. Like we did infertility treatments, and I'm really glad that we have our kids and that we didn't get to have them, you know. But the ability to be able to see that I was different, even in Iowa, gave me permission that when I moved back to the West in 2013 in Lewiston,
And how were you received?
It's just the stares. And it's not at church, you're never going to get anything other than sweet sister to your face.
Did you make good friends when you were in Iowa?
Yeah, that's actually where I met my best friend. I met my best friend, Kim White, in Iowa. She was playing collegiate soccer in Iowa, at Iowa State, and her husband, she got married to her husband there, Tragan, and he was going to dental school there.
But she also seems like she has a different look too. So you found someone that was more similar to you.
You know what? When I met her, she looked like a little Logan. She looked like a little Logan, Utah soccer player. Yeah, she turned a little bit more edgy with the ways that she presented in her fashion, especially since she shaved her head and then let her hair grow back out. There was a lot of influence in who I am, and just saying, like, you get to do whatever you want. You want to dye it red, you want to do it this, then you can do that.
So you rubbed off on her.
Yeah, totally. And she was very open about giving me the credit and saying, like, thanks for being the one that's wearing the things that even if it's really bad, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that out loud, Kim. That's what best friends say.
Exactly. So the 3 years since we didn't see each other, what happened during those 3 years? We both had since left the church.
Yeah. So 2021, I left my marriage of 16 years. I had bucked back against the system of what we were participating in being husband and wife, temple marriage, having 4 kids, attending church, being in the Relief Society presidency, paying all these homages to this religion. But there was a deep disconnect in our faith, even just in our marriage, that I understood really early on when we came back, that there was going to be a way that I knew that I was existing, because my then husband was gone a lot working, and so we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time together. And then 2020, the world shutting down, and me having the gift of being in the house with him for 6 months.
How was that?
It was great, because I then got the opportunity to re-meet him, and we hadn't gotten to know each other. We were like business partners almost. And that part of it, in knowing that I'm exempling that type of love to my kids, there has to be some reciprocity. And that part of 2021, me waking up, my best friend died, Kim, the one that we were talking about in Iowa. She passed away from cancer just right after the world shut down in COVID. And then me waking up to my sexuality when she died, and realizing that I was her best friend for 13 years, but there was much more of a sexual connection that I even wanted to tap into until she died. And then I got to be with my then husband and realize, like, I want to be boyfriend and girlfriend with someone that I just had 4 kids with. There wasn't a part of it that we were existing together. We were just working against this system that was telling us that we need to be together. So did
you feel like you had fallen more in love with your best friend than you were with your husband?
I would say, even if you talk to anybody who doesn't work in same-sex attraction, like I am very open in saying I am bisexual. I like both male and female energy. And I think when you talk to anybody and they talk about girlfriends, like, even if you don't want to lay down in a bed next to each other and share your genitals, like, there is a deep emotional connection with girlfriends.
Agreed.
We have sat on so many boards, even in the church, like underneath the church guys, being so connected to these women in whatever fight we were fighting for, whether it was for the church or for our family or for sovereignty, whatever it was, we've done that in and out of the church. I think that being that there was no permission for us to just date freely. Like, I was 19, he was 21, and there was a very big flux into, if you are going to continue to be dating, then you have to get married. And that was like within the first 6 months. That was in the first 6 months. So,
and that influx is from where?
From my parents and his parents, because they both know that A plus B equals C. And they know, well, I personally know that I was so sheltered in my own, just my own sexual experiences. I was just 19. This was my first boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And this was like my first guy that I'd ever gotten horny for. And so my mom and dad saw that when we were on a family vacation, and they sat the both of us down. And I remember the conversation of them like shaming me for sitting on his lap. Like, what? Yeah, no, I'm in college and this is my boyfriend. And
at 19.
And then them sitting me down as a little kid, basically. And them knowing, like, this is the only safe thing that they knew. Like, you need to get married because you're going to have sex, and then there's going to be a whole world that ostracizes you if you do something bad.
Yeah. So you didn't have any sort of sexual relationships up until 19?
No. The only serious kind of like play relationship that I had was, I had a serious boyfriend for 2 years, and we literally kissed and maybe laid on top of each other. There was no dry humping. There was no nothing. So that was to the extent of where I had gone. And then I went to college, and then it was like, whoa, Like, you know, those kids who get starved of candy. It was like, what in the world? And it wasn't like I was going out and being promiscuous with my sex. I was understanding that there was a world that my parents had kind of shielded me from, which was beautiful, but also like fire hose. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything, all of your firsts, almost all of them were all with your husband.
Yes. Yeah. And his too. Yeah. And that's a consensual conversation that obviously he's not here. I'm not going to talk about his sex, but being his partner and knowing that him and I were both opening each other up at 19 and 21, and that we were not really friends. We hadn't done the work to know that we could even live together. We were just two little virgins. Like, hey, do you want to like have some sex and like maybe do some kids? Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And we did it. And then I woke up and was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
So had you guys done anything physically before getting married?
Yeah, we totally crossed the line in ways that him and I know. And I've spoken to him openly about this since I've left. Like, you need to wake up and realize that our kids are going to have that dissonance. That you and I told these people that we got into this like magical temple and got married, but we were both lying. So,
right.
And that's on him, and him knowing his own path, right? I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about what it looks like to wake up and say, yeah, I get to choose the rules that I made, and then I'm going to break them all, and I'm going to remake them, and my kids are going to have to watch it, and so is he. But that's kind of what's been happening in the last, like from 2000 to 2023. You re-met me, and I had just really opened up. I had just come out as bisexual. I had my first girl relationship, real serious relationship that I had felt like, yeah, like these things are pinging in me where I know this is real love. Yeah. And that was deep heartache, right? Like waking up to that was hard.
So did you go to your husband and tell him about this, or did you wait until?
No, it was me leaving. It was me leaving. It wasn't, he already knew that there was a deep attraction that I had to women and a deep connection, but the fact that I could even say bye.
Right.
You don't say that stuff. You don't say that. You don't even admit that stuff. That's not something that we do. That is so taboo. Do not even admit that you could like both of them. How dare you?
Right.
Yeah, I know you know.
Yeah. No, I know. So do you feel like, so you had expressed to me a little bit about your sexual relationship with your husband, and you didn't feel as though your sexual needs were met.
Yeah.
That would be a mild way to put it.
Well, there's a part of growing into...
Aside from being bisexual,
Yeah.
where you have that awakening.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. That was so taboo that wasn't even something that I had broken into. I had to leave and then understand that there were other people who were openly saying that they liked other women and men.
Yeah.
That was me just growing up. Like I often say, I left at 32 and now I'm 39 and I'm just that many years old. It's my first day doing today. So me waking up to my own sexuality with women was after I left him.
After.
Yeah, but me knowing that him and I were learning from each other with scripts that like there was no access. Nobody talks about sex.
Right.
We do not talk about sex. We do not talk about money, and we do not talk about drugs. We do not talk about those things. Those are the things that we don't talk about. And when you do, it's like everybody's eyes go crossed and you're like, come on back. We can do it. That part of me being the sexually, assertive one in the relationship from the get. I was the one that kissed him on the first date. Like I have been the one that's driving that train. And that was great because, you know, for the first 10 years of marriage, you look at science, that will get you that far.
Yeah.
But when you open up and you start wanting to play in realms that there is just a stagnant energy of like, yeah, like, no, not that sexy. Put your skirt down. Like, don't be doing that. And we're not looking at porn. We're not going to do any type of play, and don't make those sounds. Like, come on.
So do you feel like your idea of sex before you got married was maybe different than his, and you...
Yeah. I was already exploring my own body when I was young. I was masturbating at like 10.
Which is not allowed.
Yeah, no.
Not allowed.
No. There's so much shame and guilt around
Yes,
that. But
absolutely.
I have 4 human beings. I'm watching them be curious little kids. I'm like, yeah, that checks out.
So you were giving yourself an orgasm,
Yeah.
and you're thinking sex is going to be great.
Oh, I thought it was going to be everything
I can't wait to get married.
Yeah.
Sex is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And then what?
Sex was great because I was in my body for a really long time and I was able to be satiated by myself. Like that part of me being able to get myself to that and turning to my partner and saying, hey, like we need to wake up and become something outside of what the church is giving us. Because if we don't, then this relationship's going to die in a way that you're missing out on such a great opportunity to get to know me.
So did you feel fulfilled in your sexual relationship in your marriage?
No, I wouldn't say that there was a part of me that was clinging to, oh man, I really want to go back to the house and use that to heal. Let's go have some sex to heal. No, it was like
missing.
It was the lack of his desire to even play in the taboo of thinking sex is a good thing. He wanted to use it, and most people will, and it's not just him. There is the way of multiplying, replenishing the earth. Like you don't do it, and it's like no, yes, but not too sexy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because I was told when I was getting married in the temple that when you are going to have sex, that's the time when you take your garments off, and as soon as you're done,
yeah,
then you are supposed to clean up and you're supposed to put your garments back on.
Yeah, put them back on.
Right?
Shimmy back in.
Yeah.
Okay, did you wear silk or cotton, or what did you wear, babe?
I wore the dry silks.
Yeah. Did you ever get the petite ones where they were shorter?
Always.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah. I couldn't purchase them. I had to have a friend buy them that was shorter because I was too tall.
They would
to
look
get
at
the
you.
Petites.
You are a naughty
right.
girl.
Yeah,
You're naughty.
I know.
Yeah, I was always the one that was like rolling those suckers up.
Yep, I wanted them to hit me at least at the thigh and not the knee, because the regular ones would hit me right at the knee.
Yeah,
and so it was. Yeah, I wanted to show a little knee. Well, still, even the skirt, I have a little bit of PTSD even buying long skirts because I don't feel comfortable. I want to show off my body, and I should have been allowed to do that.
Yeah, and you actually were. I mean, we've both talked about what it looked like to be like capable and strong in our given body. Like both of us were athletes. Both of us took really great care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. We've had kids. Like up to this point, you and I, when we met each other, and to right now, look at the both of us. We understand that this skin suit that we're in is a given vessel, and that there are a lot of people that are around us, male and female, that if you don't take care of yourself, and you don't have that drive to want to wear the sexy skirt, to want to go do those things, to get off on yourself, there is a lack of looking. When you're looking at yourself and understanding that you're your own turn on and you're driving your own sex, and everybody gets to come in and take samples, but you're the driver of the bus, there's a lack of looking out and wondering what you can get from other people when you're driving your own bus, right? And to come into your sex, especially outside of religion, and to be driving with that, being a mommy, no, we don't do sexy mommy.
You can't do both.
No. Those two things do not do it, and that is so taboo to even say. Yeah. So that part of me, that juxtaposition of leaving the church and having that be, these kids' moms were just so, and kids' dads were so ample and willing to have these kids over to my house to do the activities, to be in that role, and then automatically the ostracization that happens when you when you just choose something different, when you say, I don't want to be in this relationship, but these two people are the same humans. There's like this weird connection between that relationship that people feel like they have to come in and manage and choose sides. And that's a lot of the part of the hiding, I think, in the sex aspect of men and women. Like that part of feeling like when you break apart, when you're talking about the problems and you're giving those hard things to the people who are asking questions, right?
Yeah.
Like you know, when you're asking me and I'm willing to be vulnerable, that's the good gooey stuff. Like that's the stuff that they really don't talk about at the church. In church, it's always just under the guise of sweet sister, right? Like,
right.
I really do believe that that's been a reason why we've connected so well, because we've looked past the bullshit and been like, okay, what is actually? Because that's the whole reason why you reached out in 2023. Let's loop it back around. Yeah. Was you seeing me on my socials and realizing I had just come out. You had moved fully back into town. There was a fellow connection that had given you some words around who I was and who I had become. And so,
you were being whispered about around town. I wouldn't say whispered. You were being shouted about, absolutely shouted about. And
I got something to say.
But I always go back to that memory when I first met you. And feeling like I wanted to be your friend. And I knew I had that energy feeling that I needed to reach out to you. And I had become friends with these people that had all dropped you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you got a divorce and now...
Which in a small town, like... ... SOS, like you just better get your lifeboat and go out into the ostracization, because divorce is so, everybody wants to talk about everybody's business, and it's so easy to do because they don't really want to deal with their own things. It's easy, like I was just talking about in your sex, put that in every other lane in a social aspect. If you turn towards yourself and you deal with yourself, you're not really, it's not tantalizing.
Right.
The human beings that were leaving me high and dry when I made these really hard social decisions, that came at a really high price. And you are palatable. You're married. You have beautiful children that are in the same like the athletic circles that these human beings run in. And yeah, you're safe enough to know that, like, even if they're talking about me in front of you, they're still doing it under she's off the rails. Like and that's not nobody, unless you want to go fisticuff with another woman, nobody's going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't want somebody to go do that. And I had told that to you. I know you tried to tell me you were going to.
But you had asked me before, is that you asked me to keep your secrets.
Yeah.
Even if I wanted to defend you, because I felt as though your secrets that you had would have explained so much and maybe helped them understand. So you had gotten dropped from this circle of friends.
Yeah.
And you were really close with them, right?
Yeah, they watched me move out of my house that I was talking to you that we purchased. I was very open. We were having, meaning me, I was putting on like viewing parties for the show The Bachelor. That's a show that I really enjoy and have attended and have a really deep connection to. So that's a very social thing to get the girls together. And I was the doctor's wife. Yeah, with beautiful privilege and a lot of access to, like, want to come and have people over. I'd waited for a really long time to have that type of space. So it was really, really easy the world was shut down. So I was like, okay, let's watch some TV. So they watched all of that, and I was very willing and open to be messy in front of them. You don't be messy in a small town.
Can't do that.
You don't do that. No.
So what happened then when you told them that you were going to get a divorce?
All of them slowly backed out in their own ways, whether it was me doing something in a social circumstance where they felt like I was overstepping, whether it was the consequences of, like, a circumstance happening. Slowly but surely, they all kind of isolated themselves in a way that it was just me. Living in town now, not in the same area as them. And I recognized that the silence was the teacher. Like, I don't want to chase after people that I was the one that was having them over to my house. It was my house. I continued to open up and be vulnerable to them. And when I did that, every single one of them were vulnerable with me, and I hold a lot of their secrets still. You don't know that, because you don't hear me talk about them.
No, you don't.
No, because I have no desire to fill any energy in my life with people that aren't choosing me. I did that for a really long time.
I think that just says a lot about your character as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that I spent a long time being that person. I think that a lot of people lose that mirror when there are things that, like, really bother them about other people. I used to get really bothered when people talked about me. It's because I used to talk shit about a lot of people. Yeah. But I'm okay admitting that. I was a bigot. I was a liar. I was all the things that I needed to be to show up and do the good, right thing. When you're a Mormon, that's all you're asked to do. Right. I was a good, like, front row, foam finger, 4 kids, the doctor, everybody's healthy, got a farm, running a tractor, like, check. And so me saying I wasn't happy was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had reached out and I had said, let's go to dinner.
Yeah.
And
in 2023. Yeah.
Right. And I remember telling my husband that I was going to go out to dinner with you. And he was very concerned that
rightfully so,
I would be seen in public. And this reputation that we're in a new town, right? And our kids are running in those same circles.
Yep.
We're becoming friends with a lot of these people that have dropped you and these people that are whispering about you and talking about you. And I didn't care.
Yeah.
And I met you anyways.
Yeah. You looked so cute. I remember what you were wearing at Sauté.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were like, you're so little. And I'm like, oh, it's nice to meet you, cute girl. Yeah. It was such a great meeting because it's just been natural. We've been able to tether back to us meeting in the sacrament pew.
Well, I just remember seeing what you were putting out on Instagram. And I remember thinking that you were so relatable to me because I also had gone through a lot of the same things, not as far as obviously exploring my sexuality, but just trying to figure out how leaving the church and being able to find out who I am. I felt that we connected a lot in that area.
Yeah.
And I also just felt like you needed a friend.
Have you always been like that? Even when you were, I mean, you're a convert. Let's tell a little bit about what you are, because that's kind of the reasons why I'm here too. To begin this is to give you a little bit of a mirror too. Like the reasons why you're sitting here is because you've done a lot of the same things I just said, and we have really galloped together in being here. Like, okay, we're looking over at each other, and you want to sit down and actually have a voice to what you've been going through. And a lot of leaving the church and leaving that safety, you've lost a lot.
Yeah, no, I had.
In the same communities.
I had, but I needed the church at the time in my life as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely will credit the church for that. I had expressed to you, I think it was maybe even our first meeting, and I don't really tell people a lot about myself because, actually, usually because they don't really ask. Because people only want to talk about themselves. They don't really want to talk about
normal human experience when you're in front of a pretty girl. Sorry. I'm just going to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I went, I was extremely wild. I did not grow up with any sort of religion whatsoever. I would ask my dad if he believed in God, and he would tell me, well, it doesn't matter what I believe in. What do you believe in?
Yeah.
We never really went to church or anything like that. I went to college. I had a fake ID so I could get into all the bars, and it was a real ID. Like it was my friend Kim, who has also passed away, and we looked very similar, and she happened to be 21 when I was 18.
I love that.
Yep.
I've never heard that story. That's cool.
Yeah. So I went to a bar, and all I remember was playing pool with this guy, and he got a pitcher of beer and had poured me a mug, right?
Yeah.
If you will. And I remember exactly where it was. It was Old Chicago, I think, down at the Boise Mall. I think is it called Old Chicago? Is it still there?
Yes, they have great wonton nachos.
Well, they have a pool table. Does this pool table still there?
I don't know. I usually have brought in at least 4 Rugrats, and they're feral at that point. So no, I don't know if they have a pool table. But yes, the Old Chicago is in the Boise Valley Mall still.
Yes.
Check.
Yes. So that's the last thing I remember. And then I was playing pool and drinking this beer. And I had not had anything to drink before whatsoever.
And you went in alone?
No, I was with a friend.
Okay.
But she went to the bathroom and came back, and I was gone.
Okay.
So you know where this is going.
No, tell me.
So I wake up in the basement, completely dark, somebody's house. I have no idea where I'm at. I'm in extreme pain. I mean, I had been raped.
Yeah.
I grabbed, I believe maybe it was a t-shirt of his. I didn't get my clothes at all. And I had a t-shirt, and I remember going up out of this basement and seeing somebody on the phone in their backyard. There's also pictures of this guy has a family, and he's, I imagine he was probably on the phone talking to his wife. I'm not really certain, but I just ran. I ran. I was in the middle of a subdivision. I ran until I found the main street, and I went to a gas station, and thank God for this gas station attendant, because he helped me call my friend, figure it out. This was the time when you actually had to memorize phone numbers. So luckily I had her number, and she came and got me. But that was the point where I knew that something had to change. I was going to either end up dead, or that was going to happen again.
Yeah.
So I needed to do something different. I needed to change. She just happened to be Mormon, my friend, at Boise State my freshman year.
Okay. So that's the link into you looking into Christianity and jumping and becoming a convert.
Yes.
And how often, say you make that jump and then you meet Brandon when?
So I was 18 and I met Brandon when I was 20.
Okay. So you were just 2 years old in the church and then met Ken, Barbie over here?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay.
So I ended up joining in the church.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I ended up joining the church, and then I decide that I need out of Boise because I am just going to fall back into my ways. I just didn't trust myself. The partying, I was having a really good time. Really good time. And
as you should.
Also,
if you were
my
not
idea
Mormon.
of what a Mormon was very skewed, because my friend, she was not a good Mormon. She was partying with me. She was having sex with her boyfriend.
When you say good Mormon, what does that mean, Melissa? Can you please give us a...
Yes.
What's that mean?
Exactly. Somebody that's not having sex and not going to parties and not drinking alcohol. That was
following
not her.
all the commandments.
That was not her.
Yeah.
So then once I started learning all of these things and having to change, it was really hard.
Yeah.
But I was committed, and you know me, once I commit to something, I commit fully.
Yeah, to the 10th degree.
Yes, 100%.
And we're making it nice.
I am all in.
Yeah.
100% all in.
That's why I like being your friend.
So then I decide that I'm going to go to BYU, Idaho, because now there's a school of all of them.
There's a bunch of little Mormon humans.
And that's where I meet Ken.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. You met Ken, Barbie, in Rexburg. Like, you move up there. There's supposed to be this huge portal of, like, eligible bachelors, and then you get married. How long between the time that you meet him and you are married in the same bed and the same house together?
So when I met him, I actually had a boyfriend.
Okay.
And around about 2 months later, I had broken up with my boyfriend, and he had, I'm not sure if he had found out. I'm not really certain, because he was really good friends with my roommates, and then that he made his move.
Of course.
Because when I had met him, they tried to set him up with my sister, and it was his birthday, and he of course wanted nothing to do with my sister. They still don't really get along that well. And he could tell the story later, but I was his focus.
Yeah.
Even though I had a boyfriend, he was still coming around our apartment.
Yeah.
You were
being desired. You were being chased.
Yeah, but I didn't know he existed. Really, I didn't. He was not. I really didn't. He's a very shy, quiet person. The fact that he is who he is a direct result of me, because he was mute.
I actually
didn't really talk.
I can speak to this. I can speak to this. And
yes.
And when I hear you say that, and I know and have witnessed Brandon just in a social setting,
yeah,
and then also have been in your home, like, you have been so lovely for just since we've met to just tell me, like, this home is your home, and I've been through a lot. It's 2025, so the gap between 2020 and 2025, there's plenty of filling in the gap, but I have sat privy to Brandon's energy. And there is a part of his introvert, like, being in his home and having the things that make him very happy, that the world doesn't see in presenting as a very tall, tan, good-looking, well put together, has his priorities straight in a cultural way that he's very palatable, right? That people want to be his friend. But there is a part of that introverted, extroverted, and there's some beauty privilege with Brandon that I'm sure that you've seen, where people think one thing but you know another, and you know that union has helped the both of you guys be the best version of yourself, right?
Well, you also have to realize he just got home off of his mission, so he was extremely pale. He went to Canada, and I think
I've seen pictures of this.
Yes, My sister even nicknamed him Chalky because he was so white.
Do you spray tan him,
Melissa? No, he's
just naturally in the sun.
Just naturally tan.
And does all of his family have skin like this? This is a total tangent, but I mean, I'm just asking now because we're here and he's over there. I wish the cameras could go over.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Not really.
So he didn't look like the ways that he looks right now, but he's still the same human being. Yeah.
But he was the first person that I felt like he loved me for me and not for what I look like.
Yeah.
Which is very hard for people that look like us. Yeah. We get desired based upon how we look. And he was the first person that I felt like loved me for me and what was inside and loved my brain, and not just because he wanted me to be a piece of arm candy.
Yeah.
Which is what I was dating before.
Well, and they're going to be around even in just friendships, right? You've been married for this long, and you already know the people who are attracted and are going to want to connect with that beautiful radiating energy, right?
Yeah.
There's a privilege.
So to answer your question, 4 months of dating.
Whoa.
That was 4 months of dating.
Man alive.
And planning a marriage. It was 4 months of dating and then also getting married, planning a wedding. It's very fast.
Yeah. How long have you guys been married now?
22 years. So a really long time.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But it hasn't been easy.
No.
Has not been easy. There's been a lot of struggles.
Yeah. And you've been very open with me about that too. Like, that has also been a link that you've been very willing to say. You've said something really beautiful to me that I've always remembered, that there is a part of the both of you that haven't given up at the same time. Right. And I've talked to Brandon about this too, where it's not going to be perfect, but you guys are really open, even when you guys were in the church, even saying that, like, to be saying that it's hard. It is so taboo. Like, we don't say those things. We all just bow down to the fact that this is the eternal family, and that, we keep these secrets or special relationships like our marriages for just us, instead of talking to other people about it. Like, that's what we're supposed to be doing. When, the reality is that we don't really do that.
I did a really good job pretending for a lot of years.
Me too.
I really did.
Well, I think that's also the reasons why we should be a little bit crazier, but
I was also hated by a lot of people. My skirts were too tight.
Getting pulled into the bishopric because your skirts were too tight. Yeah, right. I had the same stuff. My grandma was very adamant about me not having a spouse that was able to hold a high church calling because my hair was so high and blonde. And I'm like, Graham, come on, we can do this.
They didn't like that I wasn't wearing pantyhose.
Yeah.
We
were too sexy for our garments.
One sister decided that she would tell me that she didn't like that I was wearing open-toed shoes. I didn't even know that was a thing, because I had gone to church in a lot of different places.
That's called a foot fetish, sis.
Exactly.
Sorry.
But I had gone to church. We had lived in Utah. We lived in Boise. We lived in California, 2 different places in California. So we've gone to church in a lot of different wards around, the Northwest, I guess. And this area was probably the worst of it, the most judgmental.
Yeah, let's ask that question. Like, how did they receive you? They were receiving you the same ways they were receiving me, but in the same way. Like, do you feel like they were ostracizing you because of those specific things, or was it because you were the loud, strong feminine that you are? Was it a mix of it, or was it your look and how you were appearing? Because like all the things that you check off in the church in order to be a card-carrying member of society in that world, if you have everything checked, then you are a good person. Even if you're doing things that people can't see behind closed doors or behind whatever, those things are telling people that they're good. That's the juxtaposition in religion that I feel like I woke up and realized that I have been hiding. A lot of people are hiding. And even outside of the constructs of the church, it's been hard to palate me as a human being because of my loudness and the truth seeking. I like that about you. I think that's the reasons why I want to hang out with you more and encourage that in you, because it's hard to be that even in circumstances where people know that you're saying the truth. Does that make sense, where you've probably lost friends like I've lost friends, and being like the one that you're like, flag on the play here, toots. I don't know what's going on here, but XYZ does not mean ABC to me.
I wouldn't say that I lost friends. I would definitely say that I just didn't really have friends. Even in my last ward, I didn't really have friends. Other than people that I had to go visit for visit teaching, things like that. Even the women that I had to serve with, we weren't really friends. They didn't really like me. They wanted me to be the one that told the girls that if they showed up in a tank top, they wanted to make me be the bad guy because they knew that I wouldn't do it. I refused. I'm not going to go tell a girl that is here choosing to be here on a Wednesday night when she could be anywhere else that she cannot be here in a tank top. I am not going to say that. I am also not going to tell a girl that shows up in a two-piece that they need to go and put a t-shirt on because they didn't show up in a one-piece. I'm not going to do that. So I've always been rebellious. I did not ever conform. And when people would pull me into classrooms to tell me what they thought about me, I simply just told them I didn't care.
Thanks. Thank you. No, thank you.
I don't really care. Thank you. I'm wearing this. I can also wear this to the temple. I'm not going to change what I'm going to wear because it makes you feel uncomfortable because your husband's looking at me. Not
Amen.
my fault.
Or your wife.
Sorry. Or your wife. Yes. But I had a really hard time because there were these girls that had done things with their boyfriends. And they were coming.
You're talking about when you were teaching.
I was in Young Women's, both in Utah and also here in Idaho. And these young women would come to me when they made mistakes.
In your calling?
All the time. Yes. Even when I wasn't in the calling, they would come to me. And I had to assure them that they were not damaged goods, that it's okay. They still have a shot of going out there and finding a return missionary that's still going to marry them, even though that they had sex in high school. And then,
how dare they?
Of course, that would get back to the parents and then get to the bishop and then come back to me because that was not the advice that I was supposed to give them.
Why are you talking to my kid about sex?
Exactly.
So we were the same in that, but we were just in that. Literally was the exact same, probably the same timeline. I was in Nampa. So that part of you sharing that for me and knowing that, like, when you left the church, that was kind of what I was triggering into and asking, because you asked me that same thing, and I think the reasons why this whole you just speaking your truth is going to take off in ways that I'm not saying that it wouldn't have taken off if you just continued to be Sister DeGroot. Because listen,
no, Sister DeGroot is my mother-in-law.
I have seen you move, and I have seen you shake, and I have seen you create beautiful things. Look around. Look at your children. Look at your family. Look at how brave you've been in rebuilding. This is what I feel like is so congruent to the energy that I met on the back pew. Like, I know you've been a Spitfire since the moment I met you, but there hasn't been enough people around that have been able to palate your truth seeking. And I'm really excited. I love those numbers that I'm seeing in just the little snippets that you're giving the world. And they're like, I like what I'm hearing. Because that little girl or little boy that pings into what you're sharing is ready to listen. And you don't give a flying who's listening.
No.
You don't. I love that.
No. I had a really hard time. I also have gay friends, and I have for a very long time, even when I was Mormon. And that's not okay to talk about.
No.
I also voted for Adam Lambert on American Idol. That was not okay. I should not.
Ostracized.
I mean, he was gay. I should not be voting for him. And the fact that I told the young women that that's who I was voting for, that got back. I got called into the bishop for basically supporting
the same sex attraction.
Someone that's gay. Absolutely.
Naughty.
How dare I?
From the beginning, you're a rebel.
So then, I want to share a little bit about kind of what led up to me leaving the church. Before I joined the church, I was going to be a lawyer. I'd be a damn good lawyer.
I would never want to go up against you.
No, absolutely not. No. And I have a memory that
I'm glad that you're my friend.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes.
But I had to put that on hold because I became Mormon, and my shift was, okay, now you have to be a housewife. That is your only desire. I gave talks in church on Mother's Day, basically bashing these women that were working. And I still feel so bad about it. Julie Harper, if you're listening, I apologize, because she's one of those. She supports her family. And
sweet.
I remember thinking later that me giving that talk in church about how amazing mothers are that sacrifice and stay at home, and the blessings that they have and their kids have, which is absolute bullshit, because her kids are fabulous.
Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous, regardless of whether or not she worked or didn't. But for me, I've had a really hard time, because I've had to put my entire life on hold, my dreams, my desires, to raise these 5 humans, where I know I would have been a great breadwinner. I would have been able to be successful in my own right. But for me, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to kill it. And that's why my kids are, they're great kids. They're successful.
Running a top string over here at the DeGroot house.
100%.
Yeah, top string.
They're great. I mean, I don't know anybody that well, except for London. She's still, the verdict's out on her.
She's the one that's running the whole show. Yeah, that's cute. I like that you say that.
But do you know what I mean? My house, always clean.
Yeah.
My house, always open to everybody.
Yeah.
I always had this picture perfect marriage.
Yeah.
Even when people come and they say, oh my gosh, what is your secret? I'm like, it's all fake.
Yeah. This is all bullshit.
It's
Nothing really matters.
Yes, but I am always been very transparent, where I'm like, no, this is not real.
Yeah, I remember
one of the first.
Yeah, I remember one of the first times I came into this house, and I knew of the Cami house and how you have had privilege to be able to design what you want to design, and that Cami house, holy whip, shut the f up. That thing was a beautiful piece of artwork.
But I designed it so that all of my kids as friends would all want to come.
Yeah, and they did.
And plenty of space.
Yeah.
But that's because, so I grew up in poverty, not me personally, but I grew up on an Indian reservation where I believe at the time, I remember looking it up, and the average income was $30,000 a year. Whoa. And also, right, everybody gets free lunch and free breakfast because there's so many kids that qualify for it, so we're going to give it to everybody. Yeah. That is what I was raised in, but I also was flying on private airplanes to some fancy destination. But my best friends were the ones that lived in the projects.
Yeah, in the trailers.
I felt more at home with those people than I did at my own family. I didn't want to be at home. I would rather be where we call it Indian Hill. I would rather be there than in my fancy house with a pool and airplanes and fancy cars, because those people were more real to me.
Yeah.
I felt like I could be myself around them.
Yeah. There's a part of me leaving the church and leaving my marriage, not specifically my church, but my marriage for sure. And the safety that came with being a couple with him, and then being the family and all the huge big train that is still going over there, but I've left, right? That breaking apart and being without.
Yeah.
Not being without this holy union, being without what this looks like. I know exactly what you're talking about. I was born and raised on a potato farm, and I was the potato farmer's daughter. So I didn't understand that the migrant workers who were working next to me, that I was calling basically my fathers because they were running me around in their service pickup trucks, that I was the rich white farmer's daughter. And that the people that I was, the real like salt of the earth humans that I still look up to so much, they were the kids. They were my dad's employees' kids. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand that there was a socioeconomic gap until I was in second grade, when I looked over at Fatima in the lunchroom, and I was like, hey, we just hoed sugar beets together. And she's like, get away from me, little white girl. I don't know what you're talking about, but you don't know me, and you do not know me in this social
we are in
setting.
A separate group.
Yeah. That real jolt to me was, oh, like there's a simplicity about other people having less, in a way that I really, really get along with those humans that can see that less is okay, that less is better, that there is some chaos in the palatability of other people seeing the socioeconomics of it being lower. But I'm like, yeah, I have gotten from the point where I was the doctor's wife to the point where I could qualify to be on state benefits right now and be riding it until the day I get into the ground. That's how far I've come in being able to lose myself in that social structure. I'm so glad. I love me right here. I love me so much. I want to hang out with me every freaking day.
So what was it that inevitably led to your divorce?
I woke up in knowing that I had that 6 months with him in the world shutting down, and then I was bucking back against my own sexuality and realizing that him and I weren't, like, we were doing the right way of going to therapy and trying to get the check valves of like not quitting on each other. But we didn't have the scaffolding to even know each other because we were just fighting this like right fight to get him to be the doctor boy, to get to the house, to get to the stuff, but we didn't know each other. And anytime I was with him, he didn't like me. He was the
because
human.
You were getting to know each other when everything shut down.
Yeah, 16 years later. Yeah. And when I'm out of the room, I slowly and, you know, brokenheartedly understood that he wasn't the one that was rooting for me when I was out of the room. I was the only one rooting for him when he was out of the room. It was me shouting his name from the rooftop. And so when I hear you talk about you being the stay-at-home mom, the one that was doing it for the greater good, I see you. And you're not saying it because
that was you too.
Yeah. You're not saying it because you believe that Brandon's lesser of a human or that there's a part of him that is bowing down to you being the matriarch. You're saying we literally cleaved together. We yoked our oxes. Our oxes were yoked together, right? Let's go full Mormon. And we were pushing in a way that when I looked over at Brendan and we had it, like the tax bracket, the kids, the health, can we get over here and have some fun? Can we do this fucking thing, please? This life. And him, full stop. In this is a small town. Everybody knows who we are. If you don't do this, then I'm scared I might lose this. And me saying, I don't give a flying fuck. I just lost my best friend. Come on. Like, let's go live. Let's go be
here. As far as he wanted you to do what?
Know my role.
Know your role.
Know my role of being home. At this point, I had worked outside of the house. It had been 16 years, but I've been a massage therapist for 20.
You put him through school.
Yes. Yeah.
You also paid for your infertility treatments, right?
Yeah.
You paid for your first 3 kids.
Yeah. The first 2 kids I paid for out of my pocket in a way that it was a greater good. Like, I was being able to run with the big guns in the day spa industry in Aveda, in Iowa City, where I was being able to have my ego patted. And I hear other women lose their identity in having those babies so quick. I had the ability to really suffer. I'm so glad I did. Because in suffering, I had that juxtaposition of people booing me up in my matriarch in being a massage therapist and a healer and someone who can really hold her own guns in that lane. So I'd be so praised in one room, and then the other room, they're all looking at me with their head cocked and being like, oh, poor barren woman, right?
Right.
I knew I was good in a way that when I woke up and knew I was good, even being outside of the Mormon marriage and then my sexuality, and then me wanting to also explore what it looked like to be outside of the constructs of all the commandments in that world. Like,
were you still working when he was a dentist then?
Yes.
You did. You were.
I did. I worked, and he will say from the top of the rooftops when we were married how good it was for me to have something outside of being a mom. Yeah. And I educated at a massage college. I recruited for a massage college. I ran my own business.
Why was that so important to have something outside of being a housewife?
Because for me, my dad called me legions growing up. I'm a lovely group of ladies. I love every single one of them. I'm starting to get to know all of them.
Some people would call that multi-personality.
Yeah, believe me.
Whatever you want to call it.
I have diagnosis from here to breakfast. We can talk about that later. But the fact that I believe that this gift of having such a big energy, when I was 12, my mom and my dad basically came together outside of me, and I don't know the conversation that was had. I just know that there was a dissonance between me being 12 and moving forward as a female in my family. I recognized I was being treated different. I was the one that was being asked to go out and get the service pickup truck, to learn how to weld, to be on the backhoe, to run the cat tractor, to do these things that I was like, okay, I want to go do that.
Yeah.
And my mom was so overwhelmed with me being so curious. I'm such a curious human. You see me. Yeah, I've been this way since birth. And so holding that fire as my mom me and my mom are so different. We're so different. And I know I scare her even to this day in such a beautiful way. Just like my kids scare me, just like your kids scare you. That's how it's supposed to work. But the waking up in the church and realizing, like, I've been here, I've been doing this, I've been bucking back against the system that he is losing the identity of who he has.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't even want to be in the same room as me, let alone sit down and say, can we do this together?
So when you mean, like when he says, know your role, what did he mean by that?
Go home.
Go home from, what does that mean?
Go and be home. I was trying to.
So did he not want you working anymore?
Yeah. He was done with me working in a way that.
So it was okay to work as long as you were supporting him.
Yeah.
Correct, and helping him get to where he is.
Ooh, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I feel like I try really hard not to make sure that it's a tit for tat in that way. But yeah, I do. I really feel like there was a part of me sacrificing in being the one that stayed home, and knowing that when I felt those urges when we were married, he allowed me to do these small things outside of the home if he could be home, right? But
by small things, you're referring to working.
Yeah, small things like me saying I need something outside of raising kids. That part of him was willing to do it if I was able to bring back money and be a good girl and do the things outside of being, going and working. Being here and having him be the orthodontist, like, you're in a tax bracket, babe, that you shouldn't give a flying fuck what your wife is doing. The fact that I'm getting these 4 kids dressed, breakfast, and out the door, you're welcome, right? That part of the Mormon religion that puts so much stress and emphasis on perfection, on having this your production is your worth, it's so detrimental to these women's health. Like, it's just so detrimental to the idea of, I have to go do these things in order to be in this higher kingdom. We burnt out on that. Yeah. The fact that this is how your living room has looked.
Now, you say the higher kingdom. What does that mean? Because a lot of people don't realize that we talk about these 3 kingdoms.
Say it again.
The higher kingdom.
Talk about the higher kingdom is what you're saying?
Because you and I are probably going to be in the lower kingdom.
No, we're going to hell.
That is 100%. But you are the people I want to hang out with. I want to hang out with those other people.
You're talking about the kingdoms of Mormon religion.
Yes, there's different kingdoms. There's 3 of them.
Celestial, telestial, and terrestrial. Mm-hmm. Terrestrial, or is that T-Rex?
No, terrestrial.
Okay. Terrestrial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is celestial kingdom is like, you got all your boxes done. Your panties are clean. You are not doing anything outside of those commandments. You're making sure that you're checking all the boxes, and you are fit to be tied for, like, the best of the best, like close to Jesus. But you can't be Jesus.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's too unattainable. Yeah. And then the terrestrial.
But you are not, like, you're not drinking. You're not. You're not having sex before you're married. You're not. Yeah. I guess you can repent of all those things and still go, right?
Yeah, but in that repentance process, I mean, believe me, I've done a lot of research in that repentance process, like, that my kids are going to have to deal with. That pulling back in the blessings. Like, if you don't repent, you will be living in this second kingdom. It's like, whoa, that's a little transactional.
Yeah. So, we had a lot of oral sex when we were dating. A lot. Really, honestly, that's one of the reasons why I married him.
Yeah.
Was because it was so good.
That's amazing. Wow. I'm telling you, at this
at this
point, you're finally realizing, oh, this is sex. I like this. This is nice. Let's go do this.
This is really nice. Yeah. I like this. I like that you can make me feel better than I can make myself feel better, or that my vibrator feels better. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the new drug.
Yes. So, but then within the week before we were having our temple marriage, right? Mm-hmm. We found a bank parking lot and had sex before we got married. And both of us were like, well, are we still going to get married? Like, yeah, everyone's already here. Like, we're doing we're going to feel bad. I mean, we're going to have to send he's from California. All these people have, like, driven up here.
So we're going to do it anyway.
Are they really going to make us? Well, no, I think he actually ended up talking to his bishop at home because we were doing oral sex.
A good boy.
Yeah, such a good boy.
Such the bestest
boy.
So
he talked to his bishop before and had said, we're having oral sex. Because we got kicked out of BYU, Idaho, by the way, because we were breaking curfew.
Freaking horn dogs.
Yeah, I
know. Okay, I've seen the both of you. I get it.
Listen, it is what it is. It was great.
I love it. I love that for you. I literally love that for you.
Yeah, it was a good time. I got kicked out of BYU, Idaho. So did he. the lawyer in me, right? When I argued my way right back in, though. So I got my credits, no problem. They reinstated me.
You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? It's been like this since birth.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
if you start raking her on the coals, she's going to take you to church, and it's not going to be your church. It's going to be hers. Thanks.
Pretty much. But I just remember thinking like, okay, well, are we going to hell now? Are we not going to be able to go to the celestial kingdom now because we had sex before we were married? And then we didn't do the right thing and not get married in the temple. Is that why we've had so many trials, right, within our marriage? Or is marriage just hard?
Yeah, how many times have you thought that? Like when you were in it, like
yes,
I thought that so many times.
Yeah, and that is ridiculous.
Oh, there are so many times that
where we were near divorce, and I'm like, well, I shouldn't have had sex before I was married.
That's the whole reason.
Turned around and got married in the temple.
Holy crap, that's just the most horrible thing that you could ever say about somebody's worth. Like that in and of itself.
But not crazy because you understand.
No, I totally get it. I'm raising 4 kids that I would never, would want to be sat down and be really talked to if I ever talked to my kids like that.
That's why those young women, I was trying to explain to them, like, you will not, like, you are not damaged.
Yeah.
You still have worth. Because you did this, because you sucked your boyfriend's dick, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Well, and not only that, giving them permission to say, hey, that's an energy exchange. And if you want to do that, there's got to be consent. There's the education part about it. Like I was in the Young Women's, right? I was in the Young Women's.
Yeah.
I was running with those crew in Nampa. And that was when I asked to get released, where there were the girls that were showing up on my front porch saying, what were you talking about on Sunday? Because I'm doing XYZ and I'm worried about my talking to my parents. And that was when I got on the horn and was like, I'm done. Because the back end of this is their parents getting mad at me for being honest. It turns out, kid, I can't not be honest. And I'm going to tell you that you need to get on birth control. I'm going to tell you need to go get a condom. I'm going to tell you these things you're not willing to tell your parents. And me being that truth seeker in a way that it's like, yeah, I don't care what church we're going to. This child deserves to be curious in a way that I'm not going to allow them to feel like shit because they were discovering something that felt good and that they felt safe in. Now, if it's non-consensual, we're talking about the abuse, the rape, all the stuff that you went through. That's a whole nother ball game.
No, we're not talking about that.
Yeah,
though.
But the idea of leaning into pleasure and giving your adolescent kids or giving another adolescent kid permission, that's so big of a no-no, especially being their leader. You do not talk about sex. You do not talk about how it's good. You talk about how we do it after marriage, and then that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. We do not talk about anything. And even in the higher ups, like this, the church scaffolding is for children.
Yeah.
Yeah. And growing up outside of that, there is some serious repercussions to be made when you're talking to these humans that are just working on a child cog. Like, we don't talk about those things.
Well, do you feel like maybe if there was more teachings within the church to kind of prepare you more for your sexuality when you're married, like it would have changed things for you?
I think because I have kids that are in the church, I think they're getting better, like the youth standards, that kind of stuff, the vocabularies. They've lost enough of the youth. They've lost enough in the youth, and whatever that means, a blanket statement, whether they're leaving, whether they're from suicide, whether it's mental health, whether it's them disassociating from the religion altogether, there are enough youth waking up for them to actually kind of do some blanket redos in some ways. They're still not talking about it. They are talking about everything but it.
Who's not talking about it?
The church. And the ways that they're opening up to sex is something that's going to be talked about even when I was in 4th, 5th grade, we were talking about it on the playground.
Yeah.
Whether it was just talking about how our parents were jumping up and down in the other room, like that's what sex is, and maybe they might be naked.
Right.
That's what sex is to kids. Those things are being talked about, but also on another level with these young women and young men, that when they go to the real world, they know what's happening. That they know what pleasure is. So,
it should be talked about.
Of course, because we were the ones that were talking about it. That's why we gave our permission to ourselves to leave. And I'm so glad that you did. And that you're not here to make any other statement other than like, hallelujah, congratulations to me for being a better version of myself and seeing that these human beings aren't really like, there's no reason to get mad at them because we've been them. Yeah. There's no reason to be angry at these, my family, like even just talking to them in the last few years. they are so wanting the good things that we were wanting, and they're staying stuck on purpose.
Yeah.
Allow them to stay stuck. Let them stay stuck in a way that you're going to be watched. You're very shiny. You're doing things on purpose where that stagnation is so easy, you know. Same sandwich every day, same routine every day, same friends, same places. There ain't going to be no whirlwinds of you having to actually ask, like, what do I want? What makes happiness? What's pleasure for me? All the things that we have really discovered outside of the church. They don't want those type of curious things being asked, because that would mean that the church isn't black and white.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I feel like even you exploring your sexuality now is maybe a lot because you were told what you were, what you're supposed to be, how this is supposed to be at a young age. I was not told that. So I was free to be able to kind of do really whatever I wanted. My parents were, I guess they weren't really happy when they found out that I was having sex. I remember my mom pulling me out of school and upset, but not because I was having sex, but because I was having sex with my boyfriend was an Indian, and my parents are extremely racist. Yeah. It's just the way it is.
Okay, so were they talking about safe sex, consensual sex? Was she talking about protection? Was she was just like, you're having sex, hoe?
Yeah. Like not allowed. Well, no, she was going to put me on birth control. That's what it was. She was going to put me on birth control.
That's usually the first conversation that's like, listen,
she's going to put me on birth control.
Get this together. Lasso this up, sis.
Which is fine. Whatever. However, I feel as though I was able to experiment. I did a lot of things before I was married. My husband did not. He did not have sex with anybody before me. He didn't put his mouth on anyone's vagina before me.
Yeah.
He did none of those things.
Yeah.
Right? So we get married, and he's seeing that I have been able to do all of those things. Because I also didn't really tell him that I did all those things, because I had I had dated a return missionary before, and he had found out that I had had sex before I was married.
Dirty girl.
Dumped me.
Yeah.
Completely dumped me. And so
you are never getting that garment clean. You
absolutely. But I went to the bishop, and the bishop had told me, you know what? You don't even have to tell them, because those things happened before you were baptized. So it's as if they didn't happen. Okay, done. So I just omitted. I'm like, nope, absolutely not. Those things didn't happen. I was wiped clean, right? That's what I was told.
That's baptism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this return missionary that went out and was absolutely preaching that to all of these people did not actually fully believe it, because he needed to marry a virgin, and I was not that person. I checked all the other boxes, but I was not a virgin.
You like sex. That's not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you like sex? Yeah, I know we've talked about this, because we talk about, both of us have been very open in being able to you're raising older kids than I am. I have a 15-year-old, but you have kids.
Yeah, but sex in high school is different. You're not having an orgasm. They're not, those
it's just the curiosity
boys
of your
in high
body.
school are not giving you an orgasm. That is not happening.
Yeah.
So obviously when my husband did that, I was like, oh my God, this is what I remember telling my boyfriend in high school, being like, well, I'm not having an orgasm. This is a problem. And him being like, looking at me with a blank stare.
Doesn't even know what that means. Cannot compute.
No, because we didn't have, you have to realize, I was there at the invention of the internet.
I love how you talk you're so fucking old right now.
I was.
I know.
I graduated. I remember when the internet was just being developed when I was in high school.
Yeah.
You're not that much younger than me.
No.
But it just is not things that you could look up. Pornography was not a thing. You were getting porn from magazine.
Yeah.
So I think that because Brandon had that different experience.
Being raised in the church.
Being raised in the church. He didn't do anything with girls. I think maybe he had maybe grabbed some girls' boobs in high school.
Did you guys talk openly about this when you were dating? Your sexual exploration? You had said that you had kind of kept that, I was a dirty girl up until, dirty girl until I was baptized and I was clean. You weren't talking to him about that?
No.
I'm goody two-shoes. Look at me. I'm Mormon. I have no past.
No. I had also had an abortion before when I was very young. And that's something that is not okay in the church whatsoever. Yeah. It's really not okay in Idaho, where we live. but I don't regret it. I have 5 beautiful kids. I don't regret it. It would have ruined my life.
Yeah.
I don't feel one bit bad about it. I also had the abortion in Idaho with the doctor in Boise.
Yeah.
But that was when it was, I guess it was legal then. It had to have been, right?
Yeah, it's been legal.
I remember it was $400. I remember the fake name that I gave because they didn't even take a driver's license or anything.
Oh my gosh,
I
Mom.
wrote down a fake name and everything.
And so when you're getting married to this boy, this man boy,
my sister had told me that if I didn't tell, because she had asked, did you tell him? I was like, no, because the bishop told me I don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
And she's like, if you don't tell him, I will. And so the week before we were married, I told him. And I was like, I totally understand if you want to back out. Like, I get it. But he's obsessed. What can I say? Like, I could do no wrong.
There are a lot of people who are obsessed with you, but I really like that your number one fan is your husband.
I can do no wrong. Yeah.
It's quite sweet.
Yeah.
Your guys' relationship has been that way.
Very, very lucky,
Yeah.
but also very scared because I did lose a relationship because of the honesty. Because I have always been so honest, and it was really hard, but because then I had to be something I wasn't, and that is not who I am. I have always been honest and open and tell everyone this is my story, this is what I've done. I am completely unapologetic, and this is my path. I don't live any regrets. Anything that has happened that is terrible, I do not regret it because it makes me who I am now.
Yeah.
Nothing. So let's go back to Brandon. So I was talking about how he had a really hard time with the fact that I had a lot of sexual partners before.
That break.
Yeah. And he had never gotten to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there was no permission to explore his masculinity, especially in the patriarchy. Heaven forbid you give your dick to anybody but your wife.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, there's a lot of shame there.
Extremely hard. And I don't think that a lot of people can kind of understand that unless they have been in that church setting. So that inevitably led to him cheating on me.
Yeah. The permission to have the taboo of like, I didn't have this, I didn't get this, so XYZ means ABC.
100%.
Yeah. And the catalyst of being married. How long into the marriage was that break?
So it was right before we left the church, which it was a lot of the reasons why we ended up leaving the church was because
he woke up.
Yeah. And he was in the bishopric at the time.
Spicy.
How'd that go? Spicy. Well, and also I also want to be clear that he didn't have sex with this woman, but
I want to go full Bill Clinton. Did you have sexual relations? No. Okay,
yes,
so there was no insertion of was no penetration, but there was some type of sexual play in a way that you can say that it wasn't given to you and this person isn't in your marriage. This person got brought into your marriage and there were sexual things given in a way that you can say what you just said in cheating.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So he is listening to General Conference and he hears a talk by somebody basically saying that there is nothing that you could do that is so wrong that you cannot be forgiven of, or your wife cannot be forgiven of. I'm not really sure. And I'm guessing that was probably in their priesthood thing that they do. You know how they do like...
It's a secret only on Saturday evenings in General Conference. If you have a secret passcode or the male genitalia, can you go to the church building and watch this secret coded message from the higher ups of this is what you're supposed to be bringing into as the patriarchy. We didn't get invited to those meetings, but Brandon did, it sounds like, and he heard something that was very, very transformative to him.
Yes.
Okay,
and so basically it must have been that it was nothing can be so bad that your wife will not forgive you for.
So he omits.
So he comes to me on Halloween of all times, which
one of your favorite holidays.
My fucking favorite holiday.
It's okay, listen, it's all growth.
Yes.
It's all growth.
Completely ruins my holiday.
That's real.
It's really hard. That's my favorite holiday.
I love
dressing up. It really pisses me off.
It's okay.
100%.
That's unfair.
So he comes to me, tells me what happened. I, of course, want all the details, every single thing. So then, now we got to figure out how to repent for this, right? So we don't go to the bishop because he's in the bishopric, and so the
the bishopric is the one who's running the church congregation. Like,
yes,
he's the one who's over
absolutely.
the church. Yeah.
But there's like a bunch of church congregations, which are called wards, that are in a stake.
Yeah.
And then there's a stake presidency on top of that. Yes.
So Brandon's here in a way, and he has to talk to this guy.
Yep. So Brandon can't talk to the bishop because the bishop is not in charge of him because he's in the bishopric. He has to go to the stake president. So we have to drive. It's an hour away. So we have to drive down. They, of course, I went to the meeting. I'm pretty sure I went. Yeah, I did. I did go to the meeting because I remember thinking, what in the actual fuck? And so we walk in. We're in this meeting.
Is this church court? Like church?
No. He just called. Just a meeting. The stake president and said, "I need to talk to you about something."
Brandon called the church. Brandon calls the stake
president.
So he's the one who called the meeting. You guys drive an hour.
Okay. Yep. And then he is telling the stake president what had happened. He's asking
being vulnerable.
He's very concerned, wants to know where I'm at as far as like, are you going to divorce him? That is the biggest piece of the puzzle here. Where is your marriage at? What is happening within your family?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay. Seems a little messed up. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
At that point. Okay.
I don't know at this point. I think that's fair to say. I don't know. And so I'm thinking that he's going to be released from the bishopric
because that's the normal transaction that would happen,
especially if you hold the priesthood. So like us women, we are not falling down. Yeah, so we can kind of get away with a little bit more, but the priesthood, right? They are held to a different standard. Yeah. It is not okay. He should be released.
Yeah.
So they're not going to release him. So instead, your repentance process is to throw yourself even more into the bishopric and to serve the people of your church. You need to continue taking the sacrament because people might
see it.
You better be a freaking man.
Yeah. You better be a man and you better show up, and don't you say you did anything wrong. Yeah, you keep your nose clean. We'll keep your secrets. 100%. We're not going to make you jump through the hoops, but you just do this. But we're going to be looking at you like we know that we gave you kind of like a little pass.
So you have to realize then as the person that had been cheated on, it was very hard for me to think that,
oh yeah, I bet.
They don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
He told us he wanted to know who we had told. We had not told anyone. We'd only talked to
so
each
you guys
other.
Were being honest. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's do not tell anybody. Yeah. Do not tell anyone. You need to keep this private. And that was very hard for me because I am not that person.
No.
I pride myself in sharing all the real things, no matter what it is, because like I said, I don't regret anything.
Yeah.
So it was very hard for me. But then looking back on it, it's because the church at that time had already suffered a very public scandal.
In your area.
In our area.
Yeah. You guys showing up and then him saying, I've done something and I'd like to omit it. And then being like, you're such a strong asset to this ward that the rules actually don't apply.
Exactly.
This is actually playland.
Yes,
and none of this.
You got it.
So winky. Please don't tell anybody.
We are very prominent. We're very well known.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, shiny. You're shiny. Your guys are doing things in this little town. And so everybody's
100%.
watching.
Yes. And so we can't let this get out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It was very, very difficult for me.
I bet. Did you feel a little gagged? A little like ball gagged and like, oh, I don't feel like this is enough?
Yeah, it was really hard. In the end was a lot of the reasons why I finally had to leave. Mostly because then, not long after that, they were pulling me in. The bishop was that they had saw my kids playing sports on Sunday. And that they weren't going to let my son pass the sacrament. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Yeah. That my husband can do what he does and he can still be in the bishopric, but you're not going to let my son pass the sacrament because he's playing sports on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, we got to make sure that everybody around us knows we're going to make an example.
Very, very hard.
I bet.
And I finally was like, I've had enough. But let's back up and talk about what happened before my husband had cheated on me. with something that had happened when I was serving. I was in the Young Women's Presidency, and one of the counselors that I was serving with, I was the second counselor, she was the first counselor, and she had confided in me that she was having an affair with the bishop. The current bishop.
Snap. Okay.
Yeah. So this was not the bishop that my husband was serving with, because my husband went in and filled the space because that entire bishopric got released.
So that was a scandal you were talking about.
Yes, because not only
that leaves something in the air.
Not only was this young women's counselor sleeping with the bishop, she was also sleeping with the executive secretary.
And you blew the whistle on it.
I did. I did mostly.
How'd that go, Mel?
I did mostly because those two individuals, the bishop and the executive secretary, had young women that were coming to me, and they were upset because they felt like this woman, this counselor that's supposed to be over them, is acting inappropriately to their dads. She was bringing him the bishop sandwiches at lunch. They were having lunch together.
Yeah, it's called connection. It's called having more than one love. Yeah, I know, it's a nuts.
It was
concept.
very, very difficult.
Yeah, people can't palate, especially in monogamous situations.
Yes.
How dare you be using that energy with someone who's married?
You realize I couldn't go to the bishop because the bishop was the one that was doing it.
Yeah.
So I went to the Relief Society president and I told her what had happened, because I didn't know who's over the Young Women's president, or like the counselor. I tell her and she's like, well, I'm going to go to the stake president.
Yeah.
So she goes to the stake president. The stake president, I'm not sure. He calls me at some point and says, well, I spoke to him, because the bishop, by the way, is also his brother. That's fun. So the stake president.
Small towns.
Not that small. The ward is the stake is an hour away.
No, I'm just saying small town in general. Yeah.
Yes. And well, and that happens a lot in church, right? You have a lot of families. You have dads and then their sons, right? You'll have a dad in the stake presidency, and then you'll have their son in the bishopric somewhere, right? Like that happens a lot within the families.
Yeah.
I'm not really certain, but that's just how it gets set up, and I don't know why. But he calls me and he says, well, I spoke to the bishop, and he says that that's not happening, and that she's making it all up. So
calls you a liar in ways like, don't be saying anything.
I felt as though, and he said same thing, like, you need to not be telling anybody about this. This is, you need to be quiet.
Yeah.
I am having an extremely hard time with this, because I know it's happening. She had gone into details. She was crying. I watched her because she was so jealous over the fact that he wouldn't leave his wife because she was in love with him.
That's such a big energy to even carry.
It was really hard. And then also, even at girls' camp, the bishop came and he spent the night there in a tent. And I had to stay up around the campfire because I needed to make sure that they weren't going to do anything. I don't know why I thought that I needed to be you're super vigilant. That's the part of you are going to be the underdog rally cap girl, and you've gotten bitten by being that, even for yourself, for your kids, for your marriage, for the rite of passage that you're feeling. Like, think about the title of liberty that we learned about up on the hill, rip the thing, the blood, all the shit. Yeah.
That's you, babe. Yes. And when you go to it, it's we're going to the full tilt, don't come at me or I'm going to come at your throat. Yeah.
Right.
You went there for the church until it stopped working for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you've gotten to the point where you just walked in and you were like, I'm done. I'm not going to be a part of this in a way that, and this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it came out in a very public way later.
Yeah.
The young women's counselor, she blew the whistle because she was upset because he wouldn't leave his wife like promised.
Yeah.
And so I can't remember if she's the one that told his wife or if he was threatened and then he went and told his wife, but she found out and it was a mess. I mean, I think she like threw a kerosene lantern and freaking like lit her damn basement up.
I'd like to tab this. I wish I could tell you all the crazy things I've done in this existence in my life. Yeah. Bless those children for getting better and being apart. How about that?
But that was something that was so public.
Oh no, it's so big, especially in Mormonism.
That's why I think that they didn't do anything with my husband, was because it was the same ward. It was just coming off the cusp of that.
Yeah.
And it was already such an embarrassment, right? For
the whistle to be blown and for you to say, hey, this is not okay. So
I want to talk a little bit about divorce, because I feel as though divorce is hard enough on its own. I know so many people, so many close friends that have gone through divorce, but I do feel like it's a different sort of element when you also put the church aspect in there, because when I left the church, my family came with me.
Yeah.
They were all about it. My kids were like, finally. Like, I remember pouring my first glass of wine and my daughter walk in and be like, oh, we're drinking now. Fun. Like, no big deal.
Yeah.
Whereas you are getting judged because you're now drinking alcohol. You're getting judged for all of the different things.
Even drinking coffee. Like, that was so taboo for the first year. Like, even my home being filled with coffee, in the mornings that I'd have my kids, they would literally be retching at breakfast. Like, I'd be making them pancakes as a good mother does, right?
Yes.
And having my coffee, and they're like rolling over like, you fucking sinner. Yeah. That type of juxtaposition that they're being told in a world that, like, those rules that I made as the maker of them, like, there is that juxtaposition that on the other end, no matter what I say or how kind I am, like, that part of just the structure and scaffolding that I know I learned, like that first time that I was looking at that person I was talking about that was making those bad decisions in my town, that I'm like, oh man, like, it seems like he's still a good person. Why are we talking about him like that? You know, I've become that person. Like, I'm hearing it from my eldest daughter right now, who's parroting all the things that when she's just naturally like spiraling into this really prepubescent energy that she wants to be mad at somebody. She's been robbed of some things, rightfully so. Like, all the things that she was told up to this point have been uprooted, and she's like, I want to know who I need to, take to church. And when you say blame me, oh my gosh, can we not get together on that?
Yeah, like, no, I understand, because I think about it, because you and I have done the same things to our kids. I have also told the kids, this is what we're doing. You don't drink, you don't have sex before you're married, you don't do any of these things, right? Like, I was teaching them all of these principles, and then one day I said, listen, I'm not going to church anymore. If you want to go, I'll take you. Also, these things, like, I'm not doing that anymore.
You're so brave.
But the thing is, I did the same thing with my kids that you did, but my kids were all receptive. Your kids are judging you for it, whereas and that's another reason why I truly feel for you, because if I lost my kids, I wouldn't be able to survive. If I lost their respect, even, because I truly feel like when my kids are requesting that I have a glass of wine before I help them with homework.
Yeah.
You are the complete opposite. So, how is that? I can't help but feel so much sorrow and know that has to inflict so much pain, because as a mom, no matter what, your kids are everything to you.
Yeah. And you know the reasons why we had them, like, and they were such good reasons. Like, we've met with
other. Well, you struggled more. I feel like also people that were not able to get pregnant right away, people that had to go along.
There's an intention.
Yes, I do feel like they value those children more because it was a harder journey.
Yeah. Watching, I'll pivot back to watching my friend die for 6 years. She had cancer. She was dying all 6 years, right? This, like, 1 in a million cancer. She's having like 27 surgeries. She's dying every time. Like, every time she goes into surgery, I'm like, okay, is this it? Okay, so, like, what do I need to hear? Yeah. And all of these, like, truth-telling things that she's trying to give me, and me just, like, understanding that, like, in the end, if we don't understand that the constant in this world is change, then we're going to be really silly. Like, and silly is okay. Silly is childlike, and And sometimes you look like a fool, right? And I'm okay looking like a fool. The problem with understanding that, like, breaking the rules, like we've broken the rules, and said that it's okay to break the rules and you're safe here to make it look silly or make it look messy, it goes against everything that in the perfectionist part of the both of us. There's also a perfectionist part in the masculine, right? We can both hold space for that. That part in the feminine, that our worth is the production of our children in our home. And me calling bullshit on that, and then also knowing that there's a part of the relationship that I kept with their father that I didn't have any, I'm not going at this and saying, I want to hate you and I want to hate the religion. I just want to choose different. And if you don't want to come with me, I'm not going to make you chase me. So you can have the house, and you can have the kids, and you can have the religion if you want, and you can talk all about me if you'd like, but I'm going to stay over here with my nose clean and my side of the street very clear, so that when things are happening, it's been 5 years, right? I mean, you've been witnessing the kids buck back. All of my family has understood that this is going to happen too. Like, I have recognized that with my family, knowing who I am and having that support has been really helpful. But knowing that my friends have watched me lose my kids to gossip. Yeah. To, like...
But that's what's been so hard for me to watch, because you have tried so hard to take the high road, and you tried so hard to...
I'm still here.
...to be quiet, right?
Yeah.
And to just let your ex say whatever he wants, and
Forever.
to put all of those ideas into your kids' heads. And it is very hard to see that taking the high road is not always, like...
It's an uphill battle with hills, and they fucking suck. They have not been broken in, and there's ice.
100%.
Yeah, and it is not pretty.
And so by you having your silence, also, he controls the narrative. He controls...
For now.
Yeah.
For now.
But it is very hard, because these kids are so young, and this is such an impressionable age.
Yeah.
And so it is very hard to watch as a friend, to watch you
suffer
and really losing your kids one by one.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
It's highway robbery.
Yeah.
But if I don't really look at the little girl who was saying, I call bullshit, and if I call bullshit, I'm not doing this just on accident. You know I did it on purpose.
No, I do.
Yeah,
I
just like you say, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it to here. I have recordings of me when I was choosing that was looking directly at the camera, saying, if you are going to come back and play the victim vegetable, fuck you. Fuck you, little girl. You have fought so hard to be here for 16 years. You could go back. You could shapeshift. You could give. You could do all that. Do you want to carry that weight? I choose no. Better apart, together for them.
Is there a way to co-parent and with both worlds? Like, how do you co-parent?
Yeah, we're doing it right now.
How is that working?
Like fucking shit. Like fucking shit.
Hey, you're honest.
Yeah, and any person that says that they're not, if they're really actually showing up and doing the work to find different outside of what they made up to that point, and that they selfishly brought these kids into the world, and that they're going to just make different lives. Yeah, no. If anybody asks me, I'm just like you. When you talk about marriage and they're like, oh my gosh, look how cute. You're like, no.
No.
This is all a facade. Everything is on fire sometimes. And this is beautiful. You're right. But this is hard work. And this takes effort.
Yeah.
It's just like parenting and having to stomach the things that I'm having to backlash and choosing different. I would much rather have my kids be knowing that it's okay to choose different within the hallowed halls of them being an adolescent, instead of them being a card-carrying member of society at 28, 29, 30, like I was, and going at it in a way that I did being a parent on purpose, just like you.
Yeah.
And that's saying something. Like, I really know that the long game is it. And whatever's being said about me from here until forever, until I'm in the ground, is going to be what they know of me, right? If you know me, you know how much I love my kids. You've probably heard me talk endlessly about my children.
You do.
Probably to the point where you're like, shut the fuck up.
No.
Yeah. I know.
Not to the point where I tell you to shut the fuck up. To the point where my heart honestly breaks for you, because you have been robbed of so much.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to watch. You've walked away from everything. You walked away from the big fancy house that you had, You've walked away from the money. You did. You walked away. There's no child support. There's no alimony. There's nothing, right?
Yeah. Thank you for saying that out loud.
Yeah. And
that's very taboo to say out loud. I like talking about money. No, I'm not getting spousal support. There is no child support. Yeah.
Even though your ex could not be where he is today without you. There's no way.
But I didn't do it. I did it on purpose in a way that it doesn't hurt me because I know that I'm not required to be my kids' everything as their mother. There's a part of the patriarchy when Brendan is in it, and he's in it, right? He's still stewing as a frog. There's an existence in who he is and how he knows what makes something inside of him light up. Being a good dad.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, everybody, when Brendan feels like he's a good dad, shut the fuck up. The whole world is on. Like, it is like the most beautiful parade. He feels so well, like he feels so well loved. Everything is smooth. The kids showing up and actually telling him that he's good. Life is good. When the kids aren't around him, because he has this knowing inside of him that if he's not a good dad, then the world doesn't exist. Then the world shatters. And that was the 7 days on, 7 days off, and me shifting custody and then losing the kids and all the stuff, like, the in between. But that part of it for me, I'm not required to be my kids' everything. In fact, I'm supposed to be the one that's calling bullshit on most of it. And if they don't turn around and flip me off a few times, then I'm doing it wrong. I'm seeing that with Millie. Please bless her. We're dating in the same age. I'm 40 and she's 15 and we're dating together. That's freaking insanity. I never thought in a million years that we'd be doing that.
Well, is that hard also to hear your oldest daughter even to tell you that you don't own the cell phone that she has, so you have no right to take it away?
Yeah, she knows too much.
Right. Yeah. You don't have any money.
Yeah.
You're poor.
Yeah. The part of her having to grow up really quickly because I chose differently has been really, really hard. And coming to the point of realizing that if I don't choose different and actually just like stay so curious around being their mom, like I love them so much, I'm going to want to hang out with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I did it on purpose and I just stay curious enough, and if they want to hate me and blame me, make me the bad guy, because you can fall here as many as you can call whoever you want. You can call your dad, you can call the cops, right?
Yeah.
You can call your mom, you can call your grandma. Forever mother is what I tell them, on purpose. Yeah. That gift that you have with your your masculine, staying married, that robbery, I feel like you've come to me and said, I see you, I want to be your friend. I don't care what people are talking about. I don't care how you look from an outside perspective. The idea of Christ-like love.
Yeah.
Whoever the guy is. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I know that you know that. Yeah. But there are people who will say that you are too loud and too much, and that your energy is not put in the right place. I know you, and I've watched you go to battle for me in the right way. So thank you.